1 year. It's been 1 year since Nintendo Switch arrived in my hands. At midnight, March 3rd, 2017, inside my local GameStop, Nintendo Switch came home and has seemingly forever changed my life. I'm not exaggerating either. You see, I've been playing video games for over 25 years at this point. Everything from the NES and Game Boy days through PlayStation, Xbox, Dreamcast, Wii's, DS's, and everything in between. Heck, I was a pretty heavy PC gamer for large portions of my life. Mini games and mini game franchises have helped me through a lot of tough points in my life. But more than anything, video games have always been a respite for me. The thing is, no specific hardware generation itself has ever really had an overwhelming impact on me. It's always been the games, not the platform, that mattered. I grew up in the era of Game Boy, so portable gaming just sort of always existed. So I didn't necessarily get that sense of amazement I am sure many did who grew up with Atari. I went through the transition into 3D gaming, but since I was already gaming on PC, this transition with the N64 didn't really hit me as hard as it might have with other kids. I had already been enjoying 3D games on PC for years after all. Now look, when Nintendo announced the Switch back in October 2016, I thought the product looked nearly flawless for what Nintendo was trying to do. Portable console gaming with a simple dock solution for your TV? I was sold. But I've been playing Nintendo systems my entire life, and yes, I owned a Wii U. So obviously I was going to get the system, even if it didn't look so hot. When the system launched in March last year, I was excited, but I didn't really fully grasp the journey we were about to embark on together. You see, like many fond memories a lot of us have of key moments in our life, we always remember the good stuff that helped us in a time of uncertainty and strife. We try hard not to think about what led us to the bad places, but how we overcame it. And as I mentioned before, video games have sort of always been there helping me along. But see, last year was a strange one. When Switch launched, Nintendo Prime was more of an idea than a reality. I was still editor-in-chief of Zelda Informer, but really only in title alone. I hadn't made a post on the site in over a month, and I wasn't running the hiring sprees or helping out the news team. And despite a zillion plans I had for coverage of Breath of the Wild at launch, it didn't matter anymore, because the owner of the site was giving me the boot on April 30th. To many, this may not mean much, but imagine for nearly a decade of your life, you spent every day of it building up something you love, something that honestly felt akin to being your own child. Then having that thing taken away from you, knowing there is nothing you can do about it. Of course, I have actual children, 3 of them in fact, and a great fiance. Truth be told, there were far more important things going on in my life than my career at Zelda Informer. But my history with Zelda websites dated back to when I was 12. So 18 years later, it was emotionally devastating to realize how little of it, any of it, probably mattered. As perfect as I felt the Switch was heading into launch, I was starting to enter a dark state of mind. And while I tried to act enthused about the platform, something felt a bit hollow. I'm playing the greatest Zelda game ever made, on what may become my favorite platform ever made. And yet, I felt stuck. I felt empty, even. Now, Nintendo Prime itself has existed in some form since February 2016. This is when Zelda Informer was sold, and I was uncertain if I would be kept on. So I started my own website as one of those backup plans. That summer, I started the Nintendo Prime podcast with Eric and Darren, my right-hand man at Zelda Informer. I ended up being kept on for a year and a couple months more after being sold, but Nintendo Prime was never really meant to be anything at all. A podcast, a few fleeting posts on a site that's all my own. Nothing but this little thing I do on the side for a few minutes a week, just to give me an outlet that I control entirely. As my career running Zelda websites came to an abrupt close, I was at a crossroads in my life. Yes, I built up a little bit of savings to float for a few months after leaving Zelda Informer, but what more could I hope for? I didn't want to go back to working in factories, warehouses, or even retail. I didn't want to even become a programmer, which is what I was in college for. No, I wanted to passionately talk about and cover Nintendo. But jobs like that are few and far between, and moving wasn't really an option. I decided after April to focus on YouTube. I had been making YouTube content on and off for a while, and our podcast was already hosted on YouTube. A large component of my decision to go to YouTube was because of Switch. You see, in just over 2 months of ownership, I had already sunk hundreds of hours into playing games on Switch, something that used to take me at least a year on prior platforms as I became a father. I owned 6+ games, something that typically never happens that soon on a platform for me. You see, if Switch wasn't in my life for this past year, we would never be in yours. Nintendo Switch has become more than just another platform I play games on. It's flawed, and issues with the system are an ever-ongoing ordeal. Not enough storage, voice chat through an app on a phone, sometimes issues connecting to servers, and the list goes on and on. Have we even mentioned Bendgate yet? But more than that, the Switch has become my inspiration. The deeper and deeper I have dove into creating YouTube content, the more and more Switch continues to inspire me. Out of ideas for today? Why, turn on the Switch and watch the inspiration flow. Over the past year, I have logged 676 hours of gaming on my Switch. I checked on my Wii U and 3DS before Switch launched. That's more hours that I spent on Switch than 3DS and Wii U combined over the 3 prior years before Switch released. Over the years, prior to Switch coming out, it became apparent I had fallen out of love with gaming. Sure, I owned a lot of games for those platforms, but my hours played on them was dismal. Heck, for some of you, 676 hours in a year is absolutely nothing, a drop in the bucket. But as a parent of 3, that number to me is extremely impressive. It's a sign of my gaming passion coming back alive. Switch has come at the perfect time in my life. As an avid tech enthusiast, I care greatly about frame rates, resolution, tessellations, anti-aliasing physics, the dang Witcher 3 hairworks, and everything else about pushing the absolute boundaries of visual presentation in games. I have a 4K, 60 FPS capable PC, and this year I am planning on buying an Xbox One X and even taking advantage of their games as a service ordeal with Game Pass. But the thing is, none of that matters without my Switch. Yes, my Switch. Just like many of you have your Switch. This is the first time in my life that I feel a personal connection to a platform, not just a game. Sure, Breath of the Wild turned a year old at the same time as Switch did, and Breath of the Wild means a lot to me too. But that's a conversation for another day, because today, Switch means more. It has transformed my life. Once a simple hobby, Switch has reignited a passion in me that burns every day. Whether I'm playing in my office, on the big 4K TV in the man cave, on the toilet, the bus, Uber, or wherever my heart desires, playing quick multiplayer games with my kids, or immersing myself in hours-long live streams with all of you. I have never felt more alive as a gamer than I do with Switch. If you ask me what about the Switch makes it special, I'm not sure I can come up with any exact words other than convenience. The Switch has done something for me that I didn't realize I cared about. It has made home console gaming convenient. Bought a physical game? For the most part, you could just pop it in and play. Updates to most games are optional. It takes seconds, yes, mere seconds, to boot the Switch from a dead cold powered down state to get inside of a game. Seconds more to quickly switch games and take screenshots and short video clips, and seconds more to get that stuff on social media outlets like Facebook and Twitter. Just like it could take a split second to undock the Switch itself from my TV and continue gaming in one smooth transition. I'm on the go and one of my kids is bored, take out the Switch and we can instantly play 2-player Mario Kart. The Switch is many things, but at the center, the Switch is home console gaming. That's convenient. As it turns out, convenience matters more to me than the latest visual upgrades, resolution, or even frame rate. Of course, in an ideal world, something like the Xbox One X is just as convenient and shrunk down to the form of a Switch. But it's just not possible. Technology doesn't advance in ways like that. But I find myself just not caring. Switch started out as codename NX, as unveiled by the late and great Satoru Iwata. Years later, it's being advertised during the Super Bowl, and now today it sits in front of me on the daily, calling to me for just one more session, one more game. In a world where there's so much pressure on me to raise my kids right, make my fiance as happy as possible, make enough money to support my family and pay all the bills, plan vacations and special trips, make time for my parents and my grandparents and the rest of my family and everything in between. As an adult in my 30s, there is so much demanded of me. Then there is my Switch, centering me when I feel completely overwhelmed and off balance. The Switch is Nintendo Prime, and Nintendo Prime is the Switch, and I am Nintendo Prime. We need each other. Hopefully, you need us too. Why don't you guys let me know what Switch means to you over this past year down in the comments below. And if you like this video, give it a like. And if you dislike it, that's alright. Hit that dislike button. Subscribe for more content, folks. And as always, we'll catch you in the next one.